Hello everyone! I thought I would try something different today and tell you about one particular time where I was put in a very awkward situation because of a really stupid girl I used to date. I think the situation is hilarious now, but at the time, not so much. So I used to date this girl named Kate. She owned a business. Actually, I think it was her and her mother who owned the business, or her mother owned it and she helped run it. Whatever. So what the business did was employ personal support workers for families with children who had physical or mental disabilities. So as a result of someone working in this kind of business, you would get to know the community of parents with children with disabilities quite well. And so that's where Kate met her friend Jane. Kate also had a daughter named Piper. Oddly enough, Piper also had a physical disability. She had cerebral palsy, which fortunately did not affect her mental capacity. But Piper did have a hard time speaking and walking. So one night, me and Kate were out somewhere, and on the way back, she said she needed to go and pick something out from her friend Jane's house. So as Kate and I were walking up the stairs to Jane's house, she turned around and said, "Jane has a 10-year-old boy named Eric who has autism." To which I replied, "Oh, okay," not really thinking much about it. I had been around Piper and some of her business clients for a fair amount of time at this point, so it was no big deal to me. When I was in high school, every semester I had a class next to the special ed classroom, and in addition, there were always a couple of students on my bus who were mentally handicapped, so I'm used to be around the handicapped. I can understand why some people may not be due to lack of exposure, and understandably so. So I remember walking up the stairs and walking into the hallway of this old multiplex house. I still remember seeing those white walls and that ugly gray carpet, and Kate knocking on the white wooden door. Jane comes to the door and greets Kate and shakes my hand, as Jane has never met me before. Jane invited us to come in, sit down, take off our shoes, all that stuff. So I'm standing in the I'm standing at the end of the doorway, leaning up against the wall, talking to Jane, exchanging pleasantries like, "Where do you work? How long have you lived here for?" All that stuff. Then all of a sudden, Eric comes out of his room and jumps on Kate's lap. Kate forgot to tell me one thing about Eric. He is completely naked. And apparently, any time when Jane and Eric are home alone, Eric runs around naked. Then he gets off Kate's lap and starts running around, pulling on his and my uncomfort level skyrockets. I am an only child. I have zero experience with kids, let alone having one being naked and running around everywheres. So what made the situation with Eric so much worse is that Kate and Jane talked for over an hour with this naked 10-year-old boy running around. I spent that hour in the same place, focusing on the ceiling and Jane's light fixtures. Fortunately, Eric didn't pay much attention to me. So after the longest hour of my life, me and Kate walk back to her car and then start driving back to her house. "Kate, you could have warned me," I said to her. She started to laugh. She thought it was funny and couldn't understand why I was so wound out about this. Despite me trying to communicate to her that this was not a pleasant experience for me, she never really got why, and it took her forever to apologize to me. She just didn't get it. So what do you think? What's the worst experience with someone that you were dating? Let me know in the comments below. Steve Talon out.